Okay, in my last video, we created this little kind of montage of work from Fuse project. What I want to do now is I want to show you how to add in a new image and how to look at the crop tool and adjustments to the photos. Okay, so I've just got some images here in a folder on my desktop. I'm going to drag an image in. Now, if I normally just drag an image in, it will actually add it to the artboard. So if I just add this one in, it will add this to my artboard. I'm going to hit delete. I don't actually want that there. I want it to be in its own image, its own file. So just to show you how to do that, click and drag that image. The top bar here, when it goes copy, if I let go there, you see now that is my file 2. So you see Untitled 1, that's my collage I made a second ago, and here I've got a picture that I took of Lake Bled in Slovenia last summer. Now this is kind of an alright picture, nothing particularly special. I think the first thing we would all agree is that it probably needs a crop. We need to crop into this island in the middle. So to do that, go on to the crop tool, fifth one down, just like kind of standard, we can drag handles from the sides to crop that down, something like that. I think we'd all agree that looks a lot better. Maybe even bring it in here a little bit more so that we can have that island kind of very central. Okay, click the tick to accept. Well, actually before that we can even rotate, so we can drag that corner and rotate that round. I was just thinking that I don't think that picture is taken 100% straight. I think we're on the island exactly straight, so something like that I think we're going to go. So we're going to rotate it just slightly before we accept it. Okay, that will do. Great, so this image is quite nice. It's not that dynamic. The colour range isn't that compelling. So what I want to do is, first of all, I want to show you how to adapt the colour range of your photos. Just to make them look more dynamic. This is especially useful for pictures like this, but also when we're coming to present our design ideas. So, last time we looked at layers, and this time I've got the background layer here. Now, we should have an adjustment layer just above our layers, this little adjustments tab. If it's not there, go to Window, Adjustments and turn that on, and it should turn up here. Now these are all the sorts of filters, the hue and saturation, the brightness and contrast that we can do to our image. Now we could, if we just select on this background layer, which we are, we could go in here, Image, Adjustments, and we could say change something like the color balance, make it go black and white for example, click OK. But what you notice is that if I made this image black and white, my background layer has gone black and white, so that's making a permanent change to that image. Control Z, undo. I want to play around. I want to play around to see what the best option is. So I'm going to do it as an adjustment layer, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so with my adjustments tab open, I'm first of all going to look at the hue and saturation. So if I click on my hue and saturation, what you'll notice is that I've got my background layer here, and I've got a new layer on top, which is known as adjustment layer, and here I can change some of that hue and saturation. So you see I can make the sea a lot richer in blue. I can change the saturation level, so I can saturate it just a little bit more, so we're looking a little bit more vibrant. Maybe lighten it just slightly, it doesn't really need a huge amount. And I can hide that away. Okay, so with our layers, we've got this little eye next to it. So on one side there's a padlock, that means it's locked, and the eye is on the other side, so that means if we can see it or not. So if I turn that eye off, that's what the image originally looked like. If we turn the eye on, you can see I've just enhanced this blue just a little bit more to make it look a little bit more exciting. I might also go and look at the colour balance as well. So again, I can click colour balance and I can play around with this. I kind of like that blue, but I really want to increase it a little bit more. So if I go the colour balance, the cyan, if I bring it really far to the cyan side, you can see how we're really enhancing this blue. It's gonna no, not the green so much. Let's get a little bit more blue in there, just to really enhance the water. This is in the midtones. We've got a few different tone options. We've got the midtones, the highlights. So again, I'm just going to keep the highlights, add a little bit of blue in those highlights, a little bit of green, Yep, and then the shadows. So we can play around with these to really enhance our image as we want. Okay, so just playing around. Spend a little bit more time with that. Okay. So what you can see is if we turn these both off, that's what the image looked like. Turn them on, and you see that we're suddenly making it a lot more dynamic, a lot more rich in colour. So that's great. That's on our background layer. What else might we want to do? There's a number of things we can do up here. So have a play around. We can change the brightness, the contrast, some of the levels and the curves. So we can put in photo filters. If we go on a photo filter, we could have a coloured filter, which is quite dense. You can kind of make it quite sepia. We can knock the image back and make it look a little bit retro if we want to. Okay. The great thing about this is that if we look at that and think, oh, actually, that's not really what I wanted, we can turn that layer off. And go back to this kind of glossy magazine holiday picture type of an image. What we can always do with our layers, we've got our layers here, we can click a layer and we can drag it and we can put it in the bin if we don't want it, get rid of any layers. Okay, so we have maximum control about exactly what we want to do. One thing I will just add in, just a little bit of bonus on this video, is we can look at some of the filters, and what if we wanted to add a bit of a lens flare or something in here, make it look quite dynamic. So go to filters, under filters we're going to look at render. Now you notice it's actually lens flares grayed out, that's because I'm on my color balance layer, okay? So click back onto your background layer, filter, render, lens flare, make sure you're on the right layer. And here we can add in a bit of a lens flare, so probably I want my lens flare here. I might want it a little bit brighter actually, something like that. You've got a few different options about how exactly you want that to look. Moving from looks a little bit extreme, but something like that might look quite nice. Maybe back a little bit. Oh no, here we go, that zoom, I get a few kind of lens flares in there. The sun could easily be there. Click OK, and here we go, we've added in our sun. We're pretending the sun's over there, a bit of lens flares coming in, and we're already making this image look a lot more dynamic than the initial image that we started with. Okay, so play around with all of these, all your adjustments layers, but keep them as separate layers so that then we can change and modify them as we go along.